Find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
O'Connor Orchid Estates Apartments. Located in the center of the small town of Reading, Ohio, it is widely regarded as the world's most haunted location. Join world-renowned paranormal investigators Abigail Reynolds and Michael Colby as they immerse themselves into every aspect of life in this building and expose the truth of its horrific history. Join us for My Creepy Haunted Life.
Jack Billings presents Haunted Apartment Complex, starring me, Jack Billings, obviously.
Damn it! How did you even get in here, Jack?
Well, let's get spooky, crew.
Hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to another episode of the ODDentity Podcast on the PodMoth Media Network, your bi-weekly foray into the weird, wonky, and sometimes downright spooky. This week I have a little something special for all of you. Sometimes the pods on the network collab to create unique content, and this week my episode features not one, but two creepy cohorts. Huge thanks to Kathryn and Hayley from the Saturdays Are for the Ghouls podcast for joining me to talk about film and folklore, two of my favorite subjects. In our chat, we tackle the folklore surrounding A Nightmare on Elm Street, and we discuss all things horror. The audio might be a little low in places, and I've done my level best to bring it up to standard, but just so you're in the know. I hope you enjoy this week's episode. And, as always, stay spooky. All right, everybody. This week we have the two ghostesses with the mostesses from Saturdays Are for the Ghouls. Ladies, how you doing?
We're doing good.
Oh my god, I love that.
I know, I love that too. Ghostesses with the mostesses. Yeah, we're doing great. We're happy to be here.
I'm doing better
Happy
now.
to be here. It's just an honor to be nominated, right?
Seriously.
The chosen ones.
If we were nominated for anything ever, we'd just be happy to be included.
Considered.
Yes.
All right, so I invited you guys on to talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's an amazing film by Wes Craven. I personally love it. For some reason, this entire week, I was telling people that we were doing Friday the 13th, and I have no idea why. But I kicked myself in the pants every time. I was like, damn it, that's not right. No, we're doing A Nightmare on Elm Street. Maybe later we'll do Friday the 13th, but today it's A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Freddy Krueger and Mr. Knives for Hands and all that cool shit.
Yeah. Yes. The evil Wolverine.
The evil Wolverine. So you guys are going to tackle as the experts, the resident experts. You guys are going to tackle the movie itself, and then I'm going to kind of come in afterward with a little bit of information about the Laotian nightmare deaths that are apparently the inspiration for this particular film. Something I didn't know up until very recently. So I thought it would kind of be a cool pairing to kind of bring in the horror movie, and then also on the flip side do a little bit of folklore, because folklore is my jam.
Yes, yeah. We actually didn't know about this connection either until you brought it up, and so it was definitely interesting to kind of like read about it and research that part of everything.
Yeah, it's it's strange because I don't think we think about movies that are considered like, hardcore like pop culture movies
Right.
as having anything behind them. Like they're all just
Seriously, yeah.
smoke and mirrors.
Right.
Like it's
Right.
like, this is a really cool movie about a dude with, knives for hands and
Right.
nothing else.
Yeah.
It's a slasher film, basically.
Right. And back then, I mean, I feel like these were not discussed until like 2000s in that time.
Sure.
From my research, like Wes didn't bring that up until later, I feel like.
Yeah.
And so back then slashers were just slashers to slash,
Oh yeah, I mean, when I think about Friday the 13th, that's what I think about is,
Yes.
Slasher flick.
Yeah.
When I think of A Nightmare on Elm Street, I kind of think of that in the same vein.
Yeah.
Halloween, that's right in there too, although no blood in Halloween.
Right.
Something I actually had to go back and rewatch it to verify that there was no blood in it. I was like, really? There's no blood in Halloween?
I know. I feel like when I first watched it, I thought there was blood, but when I watched it just recently in like October, I was like, oh, this is much tamer than I thought it was.
Yeah, well, apparently they had it ready. They just never used it.
Oh, interesting.
There's a whole series on Netflix called The Movies That Made Us. I don't know if either of you have ever seen it.
I have not seen it, but I think Hayley's heard of it.
Yeah, you've heard of it. Yeah, so it basically like it goes through all of these like, movies like, they do Halloween, they do Friday the 13th, they do Nightmare on Elm Street, they do Aliens. And they talk to like people who were on the set, people who worked in props, kind of how the movie came together, and how the writers put it together, like everything from like soup to nuts.
Wow. Yeah.
And they did an episode on A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Wow.
I was immediately like fascinated by it because I've always been that person who, when it comes to like even stage plays, like I want to know what's going on behind the scenes. And I was always that person who was like, I'll help move chairs,
Yeah.
or like
Yes.
I was in a couple of plays too, but I'll help move chairs, and like I'll be the person dressed in black who's like moving the sets around and shit like that, because I always wanted to know what was happening on the back end. And so when I saw that show pop up on my Netflix, I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm totally watching that, like without a doubt.
Definitely, yeah. It's sometimes it's just good to be included on those kinds of things in that matter. But I definitely love. I definitely want to check that out.
Yeah, it's really it's worth a watch. It's really fantastic. And some of it is really funny. There's a lot of humor in there. Because with the making of anything, there's always humor involved.
Of
there's
course.
always like blooper reels and shit like that. So
something funny has to happen in 100 days of shooting something.
Yeah, right.
Or however
right.
long it takes.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess you guys want to jump in with all of your movies, kind of fun facts and figures and
Absolutely. So Nightmare on Elm Street is just like briefly a synopsis. You're gonna get a Kathryn synopsis, which is not quite as detailed as Hayley's. But it'll be better than maybe our podcast because I'm putting my best foot forward here. So there is a man with knives with hands. I'm already on the wrong foot. Who is in these kids' dreams that are straight up slashering them. And well, a lot of kids die, and then Nancy, she finds a way to bring him into the real world, and then they defeat Freddy Krueger. Or do they?
Yeah.
And then there's the mini synopsis that Kathryn can give you. And then we're going to go to our horror expert, Hayley.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She hates when I call her the expert.
That puts so much pressure on me because I'm like, am I? I mean,
Between you and me?
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. Bad Wolverine, as you said.
Bad Wolverine, yep.
Wolverine. Yeah, the movie's just centered around, teens, and then they just start having weird nightmares about a guy with claws.
Yeah.
And they slowly start dying one by one. And their parents eventually tell them that, oh, there was this guy named Freddy Krueger that was a child murderer.
Yeah.
Murdered 20 children, and he was released on a technicality. Of course he was.
Yeah.
And maybe that would be like some shit that would maybe come up.
Right.
Like if you're living in this neighborhood with like a known sex offender,
right,
like wandering around, you wouldn't be like, now kids.
Yeah. I feel like all the kids would know of like a tale like that, or like a thing that happened in their area like that.
But yeah, all the parents were obviously, pissed off, and they decided to take justice into their own hands.
Vigilante justice.
And burn him and kill him.
And that's why he looks like Freddy today. Hayley, where did Freddy come from, though? What went on in Wes's brain?
What went on in that noggin?
The world may never know, but what we do know is what Hayley knows.
Okay, so Wes Craven. It was said that he got inspiration from the LA Times newspaper articles from, what year was it? I did not write the year down.
1981.
There you go.
Thank you.
It was the year I was born.
Oh, okay.
That's how I know.
Good way to remember.
I was just a fetus. And I remember sitting down with the New York Times article and being like, holy shit. Yeah.
Just little baby hands holding up a big newspaper.
Oh, jeez. That's so funny. Oh, my God. Okay.
It was just fucking printer's ink and placenta just everywhere.
Oh, yikes.
That's an image.
That's an image.
But yeah, so he got inspiration from some LA Times news articles about some Hmong refugees who fled to the U.S. during war times and genocide in Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, and they were reportedly all having nightmares, very disturbing nightmares. Did not describe the nightmares from what I read, but and then they did die in their sleep.
Suspicious.
Da, da, da.
They it's a little racial, but they were calling it Asian death syndrome, but then they did change it to Brugada syndrome or sudden unexplained death syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds.
That sounds much better.
Yeah.
I know. Like,
sounds like anybody can have that.
Yeah, that sounds like more inclusive.
And that is now very treatable with medication, apparently. That's what I read.
Oh.
Is that the syndrome is treatable now via prescription medication. So I didn't know that was a legitimate disease though.
Yeah, and apparently the people who are also afflicted with this particular syndrome are also prone to fainting spells.
Oh no.
And I guess that's an indicator of having this particular syndrome, because essentially what happens is it's basically like a gene defect. So it causes abnormal electrical conduction, so like arrhythmias in the heart, ventricular arrhythmias. Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah. Right.
And that can lead to ventricular fibrillation, which can lead to death. So the people that, you know, had these fainting spells, if they were having them on a regular basis and they went to the hospital, they were likely, you know, like tagged or whatever as, you know, somebody who could be at risk for this.
Yikes.
So essentially when it, you know, when I think that the last recorded case was like 2014 or something.
Okay.
So, you know, I mean, they're catching it now. You know, they're kind of seeing the markers for that.
So it's still pretty rare.
It's still pretty rare, and I mean, in the beginning, it was kind of rare. Like, it wasn't like this is happening to a huge population. You know, it was just happening to this population of people who fled, you know, Pol Pot and his regime, the Khmer Rouge, and all that, you know, that kind of stuff, communism and yada yada, and came to the U.S. And so, and I'm kind of getting into my own notes here, but you know, it makes me wonder if it has something to do with PTSD, and you know, they fled this very violent regime, and they probably had, you know, family members who had died in camps, and they came to the U.S., and so I wonder how much of that was just sheer panic. That kind of welled up, you know, in them when they got here and they realized they didn't have to do that anymore. I mean, PTSD doesn't go away.
Exactly.
I also wonder about Agent Orange, although it's been disproven because Agent Orange is a nerve affecting chemical.
Oh, okay.
So I wonder about, like, I don't know. I still wonder about Agent Orange and whether or not that played a role. You know, I mean, even psychologically, like, the air is toxic.
Right. Yeah, I was kind of thinking some kind of like chemical warfare or something. If it wasn't just, you know, Agent Orange, some other, I don't know.
Well, I mean, there are still, you know, hospitals that have children in them that have been, you know, affected by Agent Orange even now, you know.
Right.
It's spanned all these generations, so.
Okay, some other inspirations that are not about people dying in their sleep, unfortunately. Apparently the song Dreamweaver.
Inspired Freddy Krueger?
Yeah, well, inspired him.
Well, not Freddy Krueger, but Wes Craven. Yeah. You're right.
Also, some Eastern religions put in some inspo in there. Some say he even got the inspiration from some students that he had at Clarkson University in 1968. They made a film that parodied contemporary horror films, and it was filmed along Elm Street in New York. So I was like, Elm Street. Anyway. Every time I see a street sign that says Elm Street, I'm like,
death.
It's like
I'm never going to fall asleep on that street.
It's like when they say the name of the movie in the movie.
In the movie, yeah.
And you're like,
It's just a secret in between us and the movie makers.
And then, other than that, I just had, I guess some little
fun facts with Hayley.
I will do this little game because we do it all the time. How much do you think this made, Kathryn and Janine?
Well, I actually looked that part up, unfortunately. So, Janine, do you know how much money this movie made?
You know, I do not. If I had to hazard a guess, I would say, let's see, I'm trying to think of like what's a reasonable number for a movie, you know?
Would you like to know how much it cost to make?
Yes.
Would that help you?
I think so.
1.1 million was the budget. It actually was 700,000, but then they got a lot of
grants or something.
Yes.
Okay.
They got a lot of money from some. I forgot what they said. It was some random guy that wanted his girlfriend in the movie.
Oh, really?
So it went to 1.1 million.
Whoa, he donated a lot of money. Did she get in?
I don't know.
I sure hope she did. So I guess it cost 1.1 million to make.
Okay, so I would say at the box office, it probably made, let's say, 3 times that.
I was like,
We had to do the math for a second.
So like
1 times 3 is 3 million.
He's like, don't make me math, motherfucker.
It's actually way more than
Yeah,
that.
it is way more than that. How much is it, Hayley?
$57 million.
You were only off $54 million.
You still get a spooky baby board.
You get a spooky baby board. Check out in the mail. Yeah, it is. It made an insane amount of money.
It definitely made
Wow.
money.
So what? Why do you think that is?
That it made back so much money?
Yeah. Why do you think it made back so much money?
I think that let me just look at my notes for a second here. I read this and I noted it down.
This is important. I must write down.
I just picture you like covered in fucking Post-its.
Me at work. So it was like the critics loved this movie. Like it was this movie, like they thought it was like one of the greatest horror movies of all time that it evolved into the franchise that it was.
Oh, sure.
And so I think that's probably why. I mean, I don't know why it was so much more. I have not
like no one's ever seen before.
Yeah.
Ahead of its time.
It was ahead of its time. That's right. But like the critics sincerely loved it, which I think just trickled into like society loving Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about like how many kids I knew growing up who dressed as Freddy for Halloween.
Right.
And I mean, like I couldn't even tell you how many, like the different schools that I went to. I could tell you like probably 10 or 12 different people who dressed as him several times for like classroom Halloween parties long after this movie came out.
Yeah.
So it just kind of
and to this
permeated. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think also because I can't think of a movie that centers around like a killer, like someone Freddy Krueger, like of his time. Like we were all used to like the silent killers.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then Freddy Krueger's like the jokes.
Yeah, he's like making jokes while he like slashes you up, like.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, then we think about like movies like Friday the 13th, where and fucking like, dude, if you haven't seen Friday the 13th yet, I can't help you.
You've never wanted to see it then if you haven't seen it yet.
Right, you deserve to have this ruined for you.
Right.
But the fact that they had Jason's mother as the killer,
right?
Like that, it just kind of like it was just this this twist,
right?
And they started adding all of these twists, right? Like you think about the Scream franchise,
right? It's twist after twist every time.
Every movie has to have a twist, right?
Right.
Every single one. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Right. Exactly.
Just an amazing series. So and also Craven.
Yes. Craven loves the twist.
It's a Wes Craven, But yeah, I mean, that whole idea of like, this is the evil, and this is what the evil looks like, and the evil is coming to get you. Like that's something that I find to be more affecting.
Right, and you can't really escape it. So even if you sleep, or like even if you wake up, like there's no way to escape this one, really.
Right. Exactly.
Yes. Do you have any more fun facts, Hayley?
I didn't even get to those yet.
Oh my gosh!
Get to the fun facts. Get to the fun facts.
Yes, we need the fun facts.
Okay.
Stat.
So apparently, Freddy Krueger is based off of a childhood bully of Craven's.
Yes.
Which we did know this. His name was Fred Krueger.
Yep.
Duh.
He actually named him after the bully.
Yes.
Yeah, and I guess the guy is flattered.
Oh my gosh!
I don't think I'd be fucking flattered.
I'm glad I beat your ass.
I'm glad I beat your ass. he like should have gotten like a cut if he found like inspired this evil person. I don't know if I would go around and putting that on my resume though. Like I was the inspiration to Freddy Krueger. Come on.
I inspired this horrifying movie. Please hire me to work at Starbucks.
Yes.
Kane Hodder, if you don't know who that is, he plays Jason in one of the later movies, but he was in the running for Freddy Krueger.
Yep.
Oh really?
Craven, yes. But apparently Craven said that every person that he interviewed for the role was just too nice to children. I was like,
wait,
what?
does that mean that what's the guy's name that plays
Robert
Freddy?
Englund.
Yes. Does that mean he was mean to kids?
Yes.
I feel that on a cellular level. I'm just kidding.
I've heard from a few people who have met him that he is a lovely man. But he does have the potential to be a complete douche canoe.
Wow.
Even in arid regions, Robert Englund apparently can get out his douche canoe and paddle away.
Well.
So, and I mean, it really comes down to the popularity of the film. Like he knows who he is.
Yes, yeah.
And he knows the power that he wields over an entire generation of kids and now adults.
Right.
So it's not like he's going to be like, okay, whatever, like, come on, let's take a picture. Hi, how are you? You know, I'm Robert. Like, no, he's going to put the glove on and he's going to try to fucking attack you in the picture. You know, it's going to, yeah. So he's apparently he's a really cool guy, but he has the potential to be kind of douchey.
Right. Like when I met Roger L. Jackson, he was speaking to me in the Scream voice while we took the photo. he was like, don't smile, don't fucking smile. And I was just like, because I was already I was a nervous wreck and so I was just sitting there looking at the camera smiling, and he was like, don't smile, don't fucking smile. And I was just started giggling because I was like, I go, the Scream guy is sitting right next to me in the Scream voice telling me in his, it was just, he played the character a little bit while we were taking our photo. I was baffled. Anyway, that's my only claim to fame.
Why did I always think that was just a voice changer?
No, he can do it
oh really?
out of
oh,
yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very talented man.
Yes.
Talent from miles.
He's a man of many voices.
Right.
I ate breakfast just across the room from him. Sorry, we're not talking about Scream. We can move on. I'm sorry.
Okay, real quick though, it's funny because we were sitting at the table and it was like a buffet style. So we go to get our breakfast, and we passed by their table, and we looked at each other and we're like, I think that's him. And then she's like, it is. So then we go back to our table and sit down, and she just takes her phone out and slowly inches it to face behind her so she gets this little clip of his head.
Yeah, I have a photo of me eating breakfast across the room from him. So I took the photo because I wasn't sure if I would be able to take a picture with him, because it costs money, and I was like, I just don't know how much money I had. I didn't know how much it cost. I was wondering. I'd never been to that kind of thing. So
$1 million.
It only cost $20 apparently. So that was my bad for worrying about that. But anyway, Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, just as a footnote, if you ever go to one of those things again, which I'm sure you probably will, if you happen to bring anything for them to sign, just ask them if you can take a picture of them signing it.
Oh yeah.
Because it's provenance or whatever, but then also you have a picture of them, with the item, and I mean, they might smile and hold up the item. Lee Merriweather, she played Catwoman on a couple of the original Batman shows.
Oh, yeah.
She was a lovely lady, and she was like, "Oh yeah, honey, absolutely, you can take my." She's like, "I don't care." She's like, "I usually charge for that, but that's fine, whatever, you're fine." I was like, "Okay, whatever." And then I went over to Burt Ward, who played Robin on the Batman series.
Yes.
And he was like, "Do you want to buy some dog food?" Because he was selling dog food. While he was, I don't know why. I think he owns maybe a rescue or something.
Oh, okay.
but he was like, and this is like, I'm sorry, it's totally off fucking topic, but so he's sitting there and he's got he's like, you want some dog food? And I'm like, no, thank you, Burt Ward, I'm fine.
I don't need dog food.
And he was like, okay, well, what do you want me to sign? So I handed him the stuff to sign, and I said, do you mind if I take your picture while you're signing it?
Right.
And he was like, oh, I usually charge, blah, 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 blah. And he was like grumbling under his breath. And I said, you know what? Don't even worry about it. He was like, no, that's fine. After he made us wait for like almost 40 fucking minutes for him to get there. This guy is such a diva. And the highlight of the entire day, this is the end of my story. Gordie Howe, hockey legend Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
Was sitting just behind where we were lined up in queue to see Burt Ward. And Gordie Howe asked me, who are you waiting for? And I said, we're waiting for Burt Ward. And he was like, isn't he supposed to be down here by now? And I said, yeah, and like in my mind, I'm thinking, holy fuck, I'm talking to Gordie Howe.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, he was supposed to be down here like, 30 minutes ago. And he was like, wow, what a fucking douche. And I just, like, I keep that with me. I hold it with me that Gordie Howe called Burt Ward a fucking douche. That just was the pinnacle of my day. I don't remember anything else really about the day, just that Gordie Howe called him a douche.
Well, I love when celebrities are just, like, chatting up, like, with you. I don't know.
And nobody was at his table, and then I felt really bad because I didn't have any cash on me, and he didn't have, a swipe machine or whatever.
Yeah.
To, like, pay him. But, like, I totally would have gotten his autograph or something just, to thank him for calling Ford a douche. I was like,
douche, yeah.
This is amazing.
That's funny.
But anyway, continue.
But anyway, back to Freddy. I'm sorry. Sorry, Freddy, somewhere out there.
Robert Englund is sitting in a chair somewhere, tapping his foot impatiently.
Yeah, he's like, get back to me. He just, like, skipped forward in the podcast. Then we got back to Freddy.
Right.
Yeah, so two more little facts. I have Wes Craven.
Yes.
He did take the script obviously to many like production companies.
Yeah.
A lot of them said no. No thank you.
No thanks.
But the first production company that showed interest in this was Walt Disney.
What?
Yeah, it was
on brand Disney.
I was like, what? Yeah, apparently they showed interest, but they did want him to,
clean it up.
They wanted to tone it down for kids and teens. And Craven said no.
I don't do that.
Right.
I don't.
Well, you have to consider too that Disney used to do anti-Nazi propaganda films.
Oh.
So I mean, Disney has its hooks into a lot of different weird dark shit. If you look at like some of their cartoons, the original cartoons that are like silly symphonies.
Yes.
Like the Skeleton Dance. I mean, I would consider that to be pretty macabre for Disney.
Right.
But it played every fucking Halloween, and that's like a part of my Halloween tradition now. I play the fucking Skeleton Dance while I'm, decorating and shit like that. So I mean, all of that like darkness, Disney is totally.
Yeah.
I mean, look at fucking Snow White. Snow White is totally dark. Like the witch is gonna fucking kill her and like gives her a poison apple or whatever. Yeah, they're totally. Yeah. That's totally. It would be on brand if they removed like the "I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy," with the tongue on the fucking phone.
Yeah.
But as far as like oatmeal stairs are concerned, that would be on brand for Disney.
Right.
On brand.
On brand.
And then last one, which I thought was interesting, Freddy's sweater, which is, red and green stripe. Craven chose this because he read an article from 1982 of the Scientific American that they are the two most clashing colors together.
Yep. Oh.
So he chose this.
Nice.
That's all I got.
And you were reading that article as well at 1 year old, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, I knew all of that. Yeah. Another fun fact, the bathtub scene.
Yes.
They actually had one of the prop guys like in the water, so they created this bathtub that had another deeper section close to where like the drain would normally be.
Yeah.
And so the prop guy was kind of crammed in there. And
that's weird.
had the glove on his hand and was sticking it up between Nancy's legs.
Oh my.
So he was actually in the water in the tub with her.
Like he was fully underwater then.
He was fully underwater, and he had his legs like tucked up or whatever. And he was fully underwater, fully submerged, and he had just the gloves sticking up. And that's like, as far as I am concerned, is one of the most iconic scenes.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Next to Johnny Depp getting sucked into the bed, and then the bed spewing blood all over the place.
Right.
Which, another fun fact, that was on a rotating stage.
Oh, really?
That entire bedroom that they created was able to spin completely upside down.
Wow.
So that's how they got that shot. And when they did that, they electrocuted a whole bunch of fucking people. Because the water didn't really have anywhere to go.
Oh my goodness.
They had all these, like lights and shit like that running. So a couple of people got low-key electrocuted.
Oh my god.
Oh my.
There was no no casualties, but nothing too
No,
severe,
thank goodness.
But yeah, it was the basement that they filmed the scene in with like the boilers and stuff.
Yes.
I guess that was like literally made from asbestos.
Oh, damn.
They didn't find out until like after they finished all the shooting and stuff that it was literally just everything was made of asbestos.
Of course.
On the set of Elm Street in 1980.
You may be entitled to compensation.
I think that the threat of like lung-related cancers and illnesses really kind of pushes it over the edge.
Seriously.
Oh yeah. Yep. And I think that's it. I think that's all I've got. But yeah, just fantastic movie. When I
Definitely.
it was one of the first movies I watched. I had a friend who had a sleepover. My grandmother was very protective. I was raised by my grandparents. And my grandparents were very protective of me and would not let me go anywhere. And the one time that they let me go somewhere, I went to my friend's house and she had Halloween, she had Friday the 13th, she had Nightmare on Elm Street, and she had The Exorcist.
Oh my gosh.
And I was
just
like
unlocked
9.
a whole new world for you.
I was like 9, and so I'm sitting there, watching Linda Blair, well, actually not Linda Blair, a stunt double, doing that horrible thing with the crucifix.
Yes,
and really examining my life choices. But
I guess when I put in perspective my 9-year-old like sleepover where I've first watched like Final Destination, like
oh god,
like that was my like epitome of like gore in movies like that.
Dude, I have so much to say about Final Destination. It's not even funny. Because that entire series, like, it's all happenstance. All of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, oh, God. Yeah. But anyway. Before I get too far down the rabbit hole on that
Before we get into one more rabbit hole of a different movie that we're not talking about today.
I feel like I'm still digging myself out of the other one that we fell into.
Right. I think we're out of there. I think we're back to Friday, and I think that's all we have, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did she fall asleep?
Yeah.
Like, what is...
She just goes, yes. I'm like, okay. But yeah, that's all we got.
I'm expecting, like...
Yeah, right. She's just snoring over there. right, like probably 30 minutes before we recorded, she goes, "Oh, I'm so tired," and I'm like, "Do not fall asleep right now. We have a podcast to record."
Right.
She loves to do that right before we record. She just like says she just loves to push my buttons and say, "Oh, I'm so tired. I could fall asleep right now." And I'm like,
know how much you fucking hate it.
because then I have to wake her up when we are ready to record.
Well, it depends what time you. I mean, I've always recorded, and like Sundays at like noon.
Right.
Or something. And granted, I mean, I'm 41. It's just as easy for me to fall asleep then, but you know.
Nap
right,
time's the best time, honestly.
Right. So, I wanted to start my section with a quick question.
Okay.
Oh,
love questions.
What is your worst nightmare that you remember from your childhood?
Oh God. Wait, the fictional or reality?
What?
I
Yeah,
mean, I was
fictional.
thinking fictional because this is not a psychology podcast.
We're not diagnosing you today. We are just talking about horror movies.
Right, just hang on while I pull the sofa out of the room,
Yeah.
Right.
No pad and paper.
But no, I'm literally like I'm talking about like recurring nightmares that you had when you were a child, when you were asleep.
Oh, I have. Go, Kathryn.
Oh, I'll go first. Okay, so I had this recurring nightmare, and it was only in one house, so I'm not sure if it was like related to that house that we were in, but and I think I might have talked about it on our podcast once. But I fell asleep, obviously, and then when I woke up and I was looking around the room, and it felt like there were like maggots, like from the bottom of the like to the ground to the top of my ceiling all over the bed, and then like I got out of bed and I turned the lights on and they weren't there. And then I like I closed my door and I turned off the light and I opened the door, and then like I could still see them. And so then like I just I just had to fall back asleep. And so I just slept with the light on. And I slept with the light on for like years after that.
I mean,
Because
I would
like
too.
but like there was nothing there. Like I asked my parents to come in and I was like, "Do you see anything on the walls?" And they're like, no. So I was like, "Yeah, me neither. Thanks. Good night."
You know, when like if you're looking at like the sky, or if you're looking at the
Yeah.
dark and you see like the little fuzzy.
Yes.
What if it's that?
That probably was it, honestly. But like for some reason it lasted so much longer.
Yeah.
And I
Like rubbing your eye.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was terrified of maggots in my room, I guess. That's my nightmare.
And how old were you? I'm sorry if you said.
I'd say like 13.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think. Okay, I guess I have two. One is a similar, like the same recurring one. Another one is like same theme ish.
Mm-hmm.
So one, I haven't had one in a while of this one, but I'm in the ocean.
Oh no. Dun-dun. Dun-dun.
I'm in the ocean and I'm like just floating in the middle, like I'm underwater, just like
No boat?
no boat. It's just
No door?
nothing.
No jack? Damn.
Nothing. No damn. No.
Oh no.
And I just see this thing coming at me, and it's obviously a
A
shark.
shark?
A great white. In case you need to know.
I'm scared.
And it's just like coming at me, like, and I'm just swimming. I'm swimming for my life, and I see like a ladder, right, like to get out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like trying to climb up the ladder, but for some reason I can't get up the ladder, and then I just turn around, and then the mouth is just coming at me, wide open, and I wake up.
Oh no.
That reminds me of the time that I tried to get out of the water when I went to Belize. There was like a little ladder on the side of the boat. And so I had to like basically roll like it was like a beached whale.
Me.
Rolling out of the boat. And this little Hispanic guy who was like standing there cutting up pineapple was just like looking at me laughing his ass off. Oh god.
Give me chills.
So did the ladder? You just never got to the top? Did it just like continue being a ladder up and up and up?
I just kept. I don't know. I just couldn't. It was like one of those short ladders.
That's
but
terrifying. That's terrifying.
Yeah. So I've had that one a few times. Another one is I'm in a house. Like my family moves to this house. It's like a whole movie. I tell myself I could write like a movie about this probably. But family moves to a house. I'm not me. Like I don't look like myself. So maybe that says something about me. But you know,
we're not here for that.
But we move into a house. Typical. I hate living where I'm at. You know, but I do meet like new people. I meet a guy, have relationship with boy. And then
I like that it's PG. Have relationship with boy. Well, like, how long is this fucking dream? Like 16 years, 3 kids later?
It feels that way.
3 kids later.
No, but basically, like, I get with this boy. I think he's cute. And then for some reason, like, I don't know why, but it's just this one night, full moon, you know, because of course it is. And the house is like, nope.
Okay.
The house is on like a lake.
Okay.
Or like I guess beach, whatever. I don't know. There's like a sand area, and full moon night, we're in our house, and all of a sudden, dead people come out from the water.
No.
And start attacking the house. And I just remember being really scared, and I like locked myself in my room. And the leader of this undead people is my boyfriend.
Oh my god! I feel like I saw this on Supernatural once.
Like, I've had this dream, same like theme, like dead water people, but like different settings, I guess.
I feel like your phobias all surround water.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot of water in your dreams. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm a water sign.
Oh my gosh!
Really? Are you really?
Yeah, she is. We both are.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm a water sign also.
Oh my gosh, what are you?
I'm a Pisces.
We're
Scorpios.
Oh, that makes sense.
Wait.
It makes sense.
What?
I have known a few Scorpios in my time, and it just makes sense.
In a bad way.
That sounds like a negative experience.
Yeah, no.
No, it wasn't necessarily a negative experience. It's just I find that the way that Scorpios interact with other people is usually a little bit more like, I don't know, like jovial, I guess. They're just like more, you know, like laughable and, you know, yeah.
Oh.
I see.
I don't know.
We're just so funny.
Just so funny.
So funny.
Yeah.
What is your worst nightmare?
Amazingly enough, my dream does not focus on water, even though I can't swim and I'm like terrified of deep water.
Oh.
Mine involves this, and I should preface this by saying that I don't dream in color.
Okay.
My dreams are only black and white. Generally, if I do dream in color, it's like explosive. Like so colorful it makes you nauseous, kind of colorful.
Oh. Like when someone turns the vibrance up all the way on their photos?
Yeah, like it's, you know, Instagram filter, right?
Yes, yeah.
Like the nth degree. So yeah, my dream involves this tall, I'm assuming it's a white house because my dreams are black and white.
Okay.
And the windows are dark and it's sitting in like the middle of this field. And I am similar in the way that I dream like movies or books or whatever.
Yeah.
And so this house is surrounded by tall grass on all sides. And the grass is so tall that you can't see over it. You can't really see where it ends. It seems like it doesn't end. And all you can see is just this gray patch of sky and like one of the peaks from the roof on the house. So in my dream, I'm just in this field pushing the grass aside, trying to get to this house, and I can hear like whispering sounds all around me, like it almost sounds like wind through the grass, but it's not. It's people whispering.
Oh.
And for some reason, I can't make out what they're saying. But it gives me like this really weird, I always have like this weird sick feeling kind of in the pit of my stomach, like something bad is going to happen.
Yeah.
So I just push forward, I'm trying to get out of the grass. And then I reach the porch, and then I step up onto this, it's like this worn out, kind of old, like dilapidated porch. And I try to look into one of the windows, but it's really dark and I can't really see anything, but there's like something silver flashing in there. Almost like a fishing lure.
Okay.
Like something, I don't know, something weird flashing. And then suddenly it's like instantly dark outside, and the only light that's around me is from the moon.
Oh,
and
no.
So I make my way up to the front door and I turn the handle, and as I turn the handle, I can hear somebody calling my name in like a really low voice. And as I start to push the door open, I wake up.
Oh.
So I never find out how the dream ends, and I had it consistently for almost 10 years, every night for almost 10 years, between the ages of 10 and 19.
Holy moly.
And then it just stopped. I haven't had it since.
Wow. I'm surprised both of you remember dreams like that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember, like, when I have like actual sleep dreams. I don't remember them like for long. Like, I'll wake up and like be upset because someone was mean to me in a dream, but then I'll forget because it like goes away really fast.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't remember anything in real life either, though. So it doesn't surprise me that I can't remember my dreams.
Well, I mean, in my case, if you have it every night for 10 years.
Yeah, I guess you memorize it.
I mean, when it first started happening, I just remembered like the house and the grass.
Right.
And as I got older and as I started to have it more and more, I was like, okay, now it's like a movie. Like, I'm actually like in a movie, and I'm a character in a movie. And in all of my dreams, I'm a character in a movie. I don't ever see myself, which is really interesting. There are never any mirrors in my dreams. I can't ever see myself.
Like you're a ghost.
Yeah, I don't know. It's almost like I'm spiriting my way through my own dreams. It's very strange.
Right. That's crazy.
But I guess what I'm getting at is dreams can tell us a lot about who we are and kind of what we've got swimming around in our head box at any given time.
Right.
There was a study I read, I believe it was from Scientific American, taking a note a la Wes Craven, about the faces that you see in your dreams, and how every face that you see in your dreams is somebody that you have met or seen in your waking life.
Right. I've read that too.
Yeah, so your brain doesn't create faces. It has faces that are cataloged. And then you go to sleep and you have dreams, and your brain is like, okay, I'm going to put this face here and I'm going to put this face there. So, it seems as if, our subconscious is like a laundry list of all these different things. It's also, basically a Rolodex of like all of our failures and our fears. Those frequently make an appearance in our dreams.
Right.
We're not even really actively thinking about these things, but because they happened and we had a certain experience, we often bury this information away, and then it comes out when we sleep.
Right.
So, I mean, dreams in general are odd, and they're strange, and sometimes they're macabre, but I think that the real question is, do dreams serve a purpose? And, like, what kinds of power do we hold? Do they hold over us? And then also, if we die in a dream, can we die in real life?
Mm.
And then, so I thought about that parallel with A Nightmare on Elm Street and this whole situation with, Laotian immigrants dying from this sudden death syndrome. Everything that I found about this, it seems to begin in 1981 with that article, as you mentioned. And it begins with a young boy whose family has fled the Khmer Rouge, Pol Pot and all that, and he begins to have trouble sleeping. So he says to his parents, hey, there's something, it feels like there's something haunting me. It comes to me in my dreams, and, I feel like if I go to sleep, I'm going to die. And so his family are like, well, I mean, this is a little wild. Like, I don't know why you would think this. Like, everything's going to be okay. So his family gives him some sleeping pills, and they figured everything would be fine and the ordeal was over. But then one night they hear their son screaming, and they run into his room, and by the time that they get there, he's dead. And they find out that he hasn't been taking the sleeping pills. He's been, like, hiding them under or inside his mattress. And there was a coffee pot in his closet. So
he's just trying to stay awake.
So he's trying to stay awake. He did not want to go to sleep. And the only explanation available was that he was frightened to death.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I went through this phase where I was afraid to fall asleep or afraid to be asleep, but I never went as far to, like, try to stay awake though.
Oh,
like,
sure.
I would fall asleep at like 3 a.m. But that's just because I couldn't stop my mind from racing, and
Sure.
But it wasn't because of a dream either or anything that I thought was haunting me. I was just kind of afraid that if I fell asleep, I would never wake up either. Right. But I obviously didn't. I'm still alive, in case you guys are wondering. I'm not a ghost. Right. Except for the podcast would be more interesting if I was a ghost.
Plot twist.
Plot twist, I've been dead the whole time.
It's like plot twist, we're only one person.
We're only one person. Just making different voices.
Hey, sometimes when I listen to us, I can't. I'm like, is that Kathryn or me?
I know, sometimes I can't tell us apart either.
So, when we talk about this SUNS, or sudden unexplained death in sleep, another kind of perspective we can take is in the realm of folk legend. So, the Ban Gun Gut is a folk term from Manila and Tagalog, meaning to rise and moan in sleep. And in the 1980s, there was a series of sudden deaths that swept through several Asian communities. And medical professionals called this, like you said, sudden unexplained death in sleep, or SUNS. So, from a study published by the International Epidemiological Association in 1998, in the Great Britain International Journal of Epidemiology,
oh, fancy,
entitled Ben Gungat in Manila, Sudden and Unexplained Death in Sleep of Adult Filipinos by Ronald G. Munger and Elizabeth A. Batoon, quote, a syndrome of sudden unexplained death in sleep, or SUNS, occurs among Filipino adults in the Philippines, Hawaii, Guam, and the Marianas Islands. Japanese, Laotian, Cambodian, and Vietnamese refugees in Thailand and the United States, and Thai men in Thailand and in Singapore. The victims are typically young men. The median age is between 30 and 34 years old. They're all in apparent good health, and they die within minutes of an onset of distress during sleep. The immediate cause of death is ventricular fibrillation, as I mentioned before. The proposed causes of SUNS include thiamine deficiency, hypokalemia. I don't even know what that is. Whatever. I'll probably Google it later and be like, what is that? Nightmares and mental stress, melioidosis, and genetic factors. No evidence directly links the sudden deaths of Asian adults with sudden deaths of infants that also occur in sleep, because that's common in infants to suddenly die in their sleep. So while SUNS is known to occur in many populations in Asia, the boundaries and incidents aren't well known, and the highest known rate of SUNS was documented among refugees from Laos and Cambodia in refugee camps in Thailand, end quote. There's basically a medical explanation for it, right? Like, they say that it's due to this ventricular fibrillation that causes death. Right. So they basically, they have a generic idea of what happens and, why these people are dying, but they don't have concrete proof.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, I thought it would also be interesting to delve into the folklore, because there are some similarities between the folklore in that part of the world and the folklore from my part of the world. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm Canadian.
Okay.
So I'm originally from a place called Newfoundland, in Canada. It's like the furthest east you can go before you fall off into the Atlantic Ocean. It's an island.
Okay.
And there's a lot of folklore. in that particular part of the world, and a lot of folk tales. When I started doing research about this Sons, I also came upon a lot of research about sleep paralysis.
Oh.
And I guess a lot of the people who, eventually died of Sons, had experienced like these fainting spells or this experience of like almost a sleep paralysis beforehand.
I
And
see.
I thought about this, whole folklore angle, and I was like, holy shit, this is just like the folklore that I have in my part of the world. There's a creature called the Hag. And she essentially creeps into your room at night. You're hagged, basically, is what happens. Somebody calls down the hag upon you because you've done wrong to somebody. So they say, you stole, carrots from my garden. So I'm going to set this creature upon you.
Wow.
And it sits on your chest and it sucks your soul out through your mouth. So that's my part of the world, right? And the hag is supposed to be like this wraith-like, skinny, long stringy hair, just like this horrifying vision of like inhumanity.
Oh my gosh.
So when we talk about Ben Gungat, this is a vengeful spirit that is found in Ilocano folklore. And let me tell you, the folklore behind Sons is pretty unnerving.
Oh.
So, the vengeful spirit is described as a huge old fat woman who lives in a tree. Now, stay with me here.
Okay.
The vengeful spirit, right, is this old fat woman who lives in a tree. So, how she manages to get up there is a mystery to me, but there it is. She's probably got a couple of good hips and some decent upper body strength, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have all the answers. So, so when the trees get cut down for use in the building of a home or like the building of a bed to make like bedposts, when the wood is processed, the Bangungat migrates into holes in the post.
Oh no.
Yeah. So then, according to folklore, if these posts are used in a bedroom, then the sleeper is going to be visited by the vengeful spirit, who perches on their chest until they suffocate.
No.
I have no idea what happens if the posts are used for a living room or a kitchen. Probably something worse. I don't know.
Right.
The creature sits on your chest and suffocates you, but also steals your identity and like runs up a bunch of credit cards. I don't know.
Is she still a fat woman when she sits on you?
You're right. Yeah.
Because some people might like that.
I mean, some people are into that. That's okay.
I mean, I don't know. That's where it came from. That sounds awful hot.
We're body positive. It's fine.
Exactly.
That's cool. You can be a skinny wraith or you can be a fat demon. Doesn't matter. Whichever works for you. And the person that you're called to perch upon, I guess. That is between you and your perch.
Well.
So, Jordan Clark, who is kind of an aficionado on a lot of like folklore and legends and like weird creatures and stuff. On his blog on the asawangproject.com, he writes, quote, "I find the idea of the Badibat, which is another name for this creature, both horrifying and fascinating. Isn't the darkness that creeps in as the sun sets terrifying enough? The thought of being so frightened that you can't breathe or are literally scared to death is truly the stuff of nightmares. When I watch horror films, I often think I'd be the first to go, feeding off my phobia or becoming paralyzed with fear and losing my breath. In the case of the Badibat, nobody would have the option of a heroic battle. She's believed to be so heavy and large that even the burliest of men would suffocate under her mass." End quote. Yeah.
Suffer under her mass.
Suffocate.
They'd be so lucky. What a way to go, though. Come on.
So now that I've given you all this information, right, you have to know how to protect yourself.
No! Wait a second. Did you unwillingly give us a, like, now that you know about it, it's gonna come kill you kind of thing?
I mean, I didn't say that, but...
Okay, well, you didn't have to, but how do I protect myself from it?
I didn't not
I have a metal bed, so I don't have a wood post bed, so I'm fine, I think.
Well, yes, but your room is probably framed in wood.
As you have, like, a wood desk,
a wood table,
a wood dresser, a wooden door.
Oh no. Okay. Tell me how to survive this.
Okay, so how to protect yourself. There are a lot of preventative measures that you can take to prevent an attack. Apparently biting your tongue and wiggling your toes is the go-to.
Okay, I love that.
But you can also drink water. It helps as well to lie on your left side.
Oh, good.
Oh, good. That's the side I sleep on already.
Not going to bed too soon after a large meal. Praying before bed if you're keen on doing that. You can do that. Putting on lipstick or painting your nails. Apparently, those are things that you can do. Also, I guess you can wear a women's nightgown to bed in order to confuse the creature. Thus cementing this folkloric practice in a time when there were only two genders represented, and only one of them would confuse an evil spirit by wearing a nightgown.
Right. So is it that she doesn't like women? Is that she's not interested in women? Because that might be my saving grace.
I'm not sure how wearing a nightgown as someone who identifies as female would confuse it in that situation.
Yes. Yes.
I don't understand. I don't know.
Not sure. Yeah.
But anyway, so when I first thought of the band gun got, I instantly thought of the hag. In Newfoundland folklore, and if you happen to be hagged, you place a board on your chest with a nail sticking up out of it, and then when the hag comes to steal your soul in the night, it'll sit on the nail and impale itself and be defeated.
Okay.
Apparently that's a thing.
I'm probably not gonna sleep with the board with the nail.
I feel like I would stab myself.
Yeah.
Well, you know what you do. You make sure that nail is nice and rusty so that the hag also gets fucking tetanus.
Right.
Because fuck
then
that creature.
She won't be back for sure.
You just wake up with it on your chest.
Dead.
She's like, feverishly checking all of her documents to see when her last tetanus shot was.
She's like, I can't believe you gave me tetanus.
10 years and 2 days ago. Fuck you.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, so the Philippines and Newfoundland are not the only places that have creatures like this embedded in their folklore tales. Which is, something that I find kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
Like Catalonia, region in Spain, has a tale of the pasanta. A black animal, often a dog or a cat, that invades people's homes and sits on their chests while they're asleep, making it difficult to breathe and causing nightmares. In certain parts of Brazil, there are folklore tales of a creature with long fingernails that lurks on people's rooftops. The creature is called pisadera, and it comes into people's homes and tramples on their chests while they're asleep. And then there are also creatures and spirits in Japanese folklore that fit the bill.
Oh my.
So the fact that this creature exists in so many folkloric traditions has clearly influenced a wide range of books and film.
Right.
Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street being one. But I also wanted to point out that the Bangun Gat seems to have a connection with like starchy food and alcohol consumption before bedtime. So whatever you do, don't drink like a huge bottle of grain alcohol or a bunch of fucking potatoes before you go to bed.
Yeah.
I guess.
My favorite combination.
My favorite combination.
Right. I also wonder about PTSD and Agent Orange because I think it's entirely possible that those two things, either on their own or in combination, could cause just undue stress, strain on the heart.
Yeah.
And could cause people to pass away in their sleep. I also wonder why just men are affected.
Right.
And then the
kind of
cases
weird.
of sons continue through the 90s, but the numbers aren't as high. And there have been cases reported as recently as 2014. So I don't know. I just find it really interesting that it's just men.
Yeah, that is crazy. I'm not sure. It is. I mean, the large woman is. It is to some extent. She only wants to attack men, but
Sure.
are the other ones primarily attacking men, or is it kind of anyone's game?
That I did not notice in the literature that I pulled for source material.
Yeah.
I know that in Newfoundland the hag is not just set upon men.
Yeah.
It's
So,
just as common to set the hag upon a woman who has cheated, with your boyfriend.
oh.
So it's not uncommon.
Yeah.
You lied to get a better, position at work or whatever, you lied about
Mhm.
your credentials and you got that position over somebody else, and so they're like, oh well, fuck you, I'm gonna
Yes,
hag
I'm
your
gonna
ass
hag.
because you lied on your resume.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it could just as easily, in those situations, it could easily be, anybody.
Yeah.
Not just men. Yeah.
I feel like the hag is more of a Freddy Krueger-esque, because
Mhm.
Freddy's all about revenge, and the hag is sent by humans for revenge, but still, I mean,
Yeah.
they seem like they have the same temperament.
Yeah, well, it makes me wonder how much other information Craven consumed in
Right.
order to create his monster, because it wasn't just this one instance.
Yeah. It had to be more.
Like I'm sure that this was probably wildly influential just because it was, kind of a large number at one time.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I wonder if he also did research into other folkloric practices and was like, oh, so this is really common, and I can, weave a thread through this, and other people will
Right.
also understand.
Yeah.
Which I think is one of the great things about this movie. It's easily understood what's happening.
Definitely, yeah.
And it's something that people can relate to. I mean, who hasn't been afraid to fall asleep
Right.
because they're worried that they're going to have, I mean,
The nightmare.
hands
Right.
up. I have
Right.
had that dream for 10 fucking years straight, and every night I go to sleep and I have it again.
Right.
And it's like you can't get away from it. You can't escape it because it's going to happen again. So,
Right.
I mean, I think that kind of thing makes the film that much more terrifying and that much more enjoyable at the same time for horror movie fans, because it is so relatable. It's
Yeah,
like this
realistic.
common thread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
So yeah,
Well,
that's all I got.
Those were definitely interesting to hear about, and I'm not scared at all. I'm
You're
just
gonna sleep
lucky
like a
I don't
baby
have to edit
tonight.
it. Yeah. I'm just lucky I don't have to edit it.
Yeah, right. I want to thank you both for taking the time to sit with me and go through all this fascinating stuff, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, we loved being here. It was great.
Fun.
It was fun.
And we'll absolutely have to do this again sometime as well.
Totally, that would be so fun.
Maybe
we're planning on having
Jaws.
Yes, I know.
Oh God.
We did quite a few movie references in this one, like Jaws, Scream,
What are we gonna do next?
Titanic, even like.
Oh, God. Well, I mean, you
Well,
guys have already done Scream, and that would be like my
Yes.
next go-to.
Well, we'd love to come on your podcast and talk about Scream. We'll talk about Scream any day.
Oh, we could do that. I actually, I think that's rooted in truth as well, so that actually might work.
Yes, the original one was rooted with the Gainesville Ripper.
Oh, sure.
That true crime story, and we did that one on our podcast.
Yeah, I don't usually do a
Check
lot
it
of
out.
true crime. But yeah, I mean, we could totally tackle that. I just think it would be funny to cover Jaws because of all of the dreams with water and sharks.
Yes. Yes, that would be fun.
That would be just
But we'll do it like in a high-rise apartment building somewhere.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're gonna be in the fucking elevator and you're gonna hear "Dan it." Like that's probably not gonna happen.
Right, probably not.
Yeah, you'll probably be fine.
Josh usually has to live in water.
It's the swimming pool for me.
It's the swimming pool.
I used to think that it was gonna come out of the toilet.
Jaws?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, how big is your toilet?
Well, no offense.
Normal size. Then probably not.
So before we call it quits, did you guys want to do some shameless self-promotion? I always let
Oh
my
my
guests
gosh,
do
we
shameless
probably should.
self-promotion.
Go, take it away, Kathryn. You know.
Oh. Kathryn and Hayley, this is us. I'm so prepared for that. We are Saturdays are for the Ghouls. You can find us basically anywhere you listen to podcasts, and we talk about true crime, horror movies, the supernatural. We tell spooky stories. Literally anything that's related to scaring people, we like to talk about. So you can listen to us on basically any podcasting, wherever you can listen to us wherever you get podcasts. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Saturdays are for the Ghouls. We'd love to have you. That sounds good.
Welcome to the spooky.
Well
Babe
done.
fam.
Welcome to the Spooky Babe fam.
Both of you guys have a good night. Take care.
You too.
And we'll talk
Thank
again
you for
soon.
having us. Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. The Identity Podcast is brought to you by host Janine Mercer. The podcast is written and edited by Janine Mercer unless otherwise stated, and the music is created using GarageBand. You can find the Odd Pod on Twitter, Insta, and TikTok at Identity Pod, and on Facebook as the Identity Podcast. If you haven't already, please make sure to mash that subscribe button so that you're in the know when a new episode drops, and be sure to tell a friend about this podcast. I'd really appreciate it. Please be aware if you purchase an item from one of my sponsors using my promotional code, I will receive a small kickback. Every little bit helps.